Good evening, students. Today we will try to discuss the two types of verb, transitive and intransitive. Now we know what a verb is. It defines an action. It's a word which is used to assert something about some person or thing. Like the girls were singing, I've learned my lesson. So singing and learned, these are verbs. So depending on the usage of a verb can be said being used transitively or intransitively. So we can say in a sentence a verb is either transitive or intransitive based on its usage. So now let us go into the actual definition of transitivity. So as per the definition, an action is called transitive if it passes on from the doer to the receiver. Now as you can see in the diagram, there is a doer and a receiver, and the action is passing over to the receiver. So the receiver is actually getting the effect of the action. So in the sentence that I have given as example, the boy kicks the football. Here kicks, if you see, is the verb. And what does it kick? What does he kick? He kicks the football. So here football is the object or the receiver of the action which is made by the boy. So here kicks is the verb which is affecting the football directly by changing its position. So if you see, if you ask the verb kicks what, we get the answer football. The boy kicks what? The answer is football. So the football is directly getting affected by the action. Hence, this particular verb is known to be used in this sentence transitively. So this is transitive. On the other hand, let's take a contrasting image of the intransitive verb. Here, the main distinction is the action does not affect a receiver, or more so it does not have a receiver. If we say the boy laughs loudly, does the action have a receiver? I believe no. The boy laughs what? Can you identify the verb over here? It is laughs. The word laughs. The boy laughs what? No answer. Hence, when you ask the verb what, if you get an answer, it is transitive. If you do not, it is intransitive. That is the easiest way of distinguishing between a verb used transitively or intransitively in a sentence. So if we go into the formal definition of intransitivity, intransitive verb is a verb that denotes an action which does not pass over to the object. That means it does not pass over from the doer to the receiver. Laughing of the boy does not affect anyone directly. So it is called, this verb is said to be used intransitively in this particular sentence. Right. And what is transitive then? If the a verb is a transitive verb is a verb that denotes an action which passes over from the subject to the object. Here, kicking of the ball, the action of the boy passes over from the boy to the football, which is then said that the verb is used transitively in this particular sentence. Now, you cannot classify verbs like these particular verbs are transitive, this particular verbs are intransitive. You can only distinguish them based on their usage in a particular sentence. Okay, now that is the distinction more or less. We will see more examples as we solve the exercises. Now there is another issue in this distinction of verbs, that is object. Object is the thing which gets affected by the action of the verb. Like the verbs which are used transitively mostly take a single object. So the action passes over to a single receiver. But there are certain verbs which may take two objects. Like the verbs as I have listed some of them: give, ask, offer, promise, etc., or tell, take two objects. Now when a verb takes two objects, we consider one of them as a direct object and the other one as an indirect object. Okay, now how to tell which object is direct and which object is indirect? Now a direct object is an object which gets the direct effect of the action, whereas an indirect object gets the indirect effect. Now these terms are a little vague at the beginning, so we will break it down to simpler forms. Let us take the example of this sentence: his father gave him a watch. Now the watch was physically transferred from his father to him. So the object which is getting the direct effect of the action is the watch. However, you can see there are two objects, him and watch, in this particular sentence. So by seeing which action is affecting the object directly, we find that watch is getting directly affected by the action, hence watch is the direct object, and him is the indirect object because it does not get the direct effect of the action. To break it down in even simpler words, whichever object in the sentence is a non-living thing is generally the direct object, and the object which is a living thing is generally an indirect object. So that is even more simpler to find out. So take an example, like mostly I give this example in class. The manager gave her the check. The manager gave her the check. So here manager is the doer and there are two objects, her and the check. So the check gets directly transferred from the manager to her. So check is the direct object, whereas her is the indirect object. So that is more or less about transitive and intransitive verbs. Now I will give you some exercises from your Renan Martin book. You try to go through them, work them out, and see if you have understood the concept. Thank you.